Hello and welcome to the Art Department podcast. It's Emmanuel Shiu in San Francisco and myself, Urschel, here in Singapore. We're at episode 57, and today we're doing something a bit different. We've been doing a part 2 of a previous episode. And if you had a good look at social media recently, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, you've probably noticed there's a lot of funky artwork going around, and sometimes artwork that you would have never expected from that particular artist. It has to do a lot with what we would call like AI or machine-generated imagery. It's been everywhere, and I think everybody is kind of trying it out right now or already using it in their workflow. And we've been talking about it previously in an episode, I think 21, about 1.5 years ago. And now looking back, it feels like AI was just in its infancy when it comes to image making. So now we really wanted to kind of do a follow-up to that, because we've been seeing a lot of it really explode in popularity. And I think while it's far from kind of being easily accessible and like universally useful, I think nevertheless now is a good time to kind of take note of what's going on in the industry right now. And with that, of course, a disclaimer that these are our own opinions. We both come from the entertainment industry, concept design. So this is kind of our point of view. So take everything we say with a grain of salt. And before we kind of jump into it, we kind of wanted to just let you know kind of what we understand under when we use the word AI, because I think it's such a buzzword and it's so loaded with like all sorts of stuff that everything these days is AI, right? But we wanted to just make sure that it's clear what we're kind of talking about. And I think there's a couple of different ways that AI is currently used in image making, right? So on the one hand, and that's the kind of the big thing, the elephant in the room, is that the AI is being used pretty much exclusively to produce an image with very little or almost no input from a human. And that usually works with putting in a few keywords or giving it a prompt. And then the machine does its own thing and searching tons and tons of images and create something new, right? But then on the other hand, there's also kind of what is maybe called in the mainstream now, maybe in Photoshop, some of you have noticed it, that they're called like neural filters or something. That's of course also has to do with machine learning, but in that regard, I think it's more used for like image sharpening, upscaling, sky replacement. So kind of like an advancement of kind of the usual like Photoshop filters that we've discussed before and that I think most of you all know. Is there anything else that we should maybe include here, Emmanuel?
I mean, you were just saying it. I actually took a look at AI Gigapixel again, and even upsampling tools that you were talking about. They actually, if you do it low res enough, it'll make up stuff now.
Okay.
And it actually looks a little bit like the stuff that we're going to talk about, which is interesting because it if it's low res, it'll make up something.
Right.
And it pulls from somewhere. It has to pull from somewhere. It doesn't know what else to do. So it's yeah. But anyway, let's just dive into it,
Cool. Yeah, I think so. What most people are really interested about is kind of these kind of new tools that have popped up maybe in the last half year or so, right? So on the one hand, I think, and that's maybe something that has been around for a while, kind of art breeder, right? I think tool itself has also advanced where I think you can kind of feed it images, or you can kind of recombine images and it will kind of generate different things based on what you put in. But then, of course, there are the big ones, right? There's what's called Disco Diffusion and Midjourney, and I think they're kind of related. And I think Disco Diffusion is the first one that kind of really caught people's attention. It's currently available, I think, on Google Drive, or what is it called?
Well, I mean, it's
you're the expert there.
A Google collab is where you can kind of go in and kind of get this thing working, and I mean honestly, I've actually reached out to some of the creators, and I haven't really heard back. So that's why, well, screw it. We just start our own, and honestly, it's I'm not sure that anybody's going to really tell you exactly how it works, because there may be a lot of infringements there anyways. So it's kind of hard to say. But there are quite a few of these sort of machine learning. I mean, AI essentially in this realm is called machine learning, right? So at least that's what the category was under. And all it is basically, it's just this thing you sign up for at Google Collabs, and then, then you can, put in your prompts. There's a very, very, very easy, it's not a hard learning curve at all. And you put in your prompt, and then it spits out an image in like 20 minutes, because it has to run, on some kind of computer, and the faster you want it to go, the more it needs like some kind of GPU assigned to it. So that's why it takes a long time. And the more people that use it, the longer it's going to take. So this is just, real basic, and so, when I know Jan hasn't really tried the whole technical end of it, because I've been diving deep into but I've shared with Jan exactly sort of how it works, and we've been on screen share and he's seen it. But just as a real quick thing, it's just you go on there, you sign up, you put in your prompts, and then it spits out an image, and then you put in another prompt and it spits out an image, and you can just keep going and it'll keep changing it up. Now you can also put in some sort of a thumbnail that you want, and it'll kind of try to do something around that. And obviously, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this have seen people's art. Wow, that looks great. What the hell? What is it? And so when it was Art Breeder, was what Jan was talking about. It was, in our last episode, there was that NVIDIA thing, Gauguin, I think, or something like that. And then there's Art Breeder and stuff like that. And it's a lot more straightforward when you say, hey, I want a face of a blah, 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 and mash with this, or you paint your own mountain range and say that's a mountain range. There's something about that was kind of like, oh, okay, interesting. The thing with what it is that when you put in the prompts, you can say anything you want, right? So if you put in a prompt, which has been very, like a lot of, so there's a guy who's doing tutorials on how to set this Google Colab up, and sort of what prompts to use, and a lot of these prompts involve using the names of popular artists, right? And when I saw that was my immediately I have an reaction. I was like, whoa, like something doesn't feel right here. Something needs to be investigated, because it just seems something seems off. And it's not like Art Breeder where you don't have a prompt, you can't tell it to use someone's artwork to either source off of or anything, right? So it really made me think, like, we really need to talk about this, because I can see, and we talked about doing an episode for like maybe a month on this.
Now, yeah.
And the more time has gone by, the more people seem to be disturbed by it, is one word. I mean, excited. They're excited. Some people are very excited and creating images, and a lot of people are very concerned about, we saw a lot of threads. I even showed you, I think Carla had one that was like talking about this, and a lot of people had thoughts on it, and it was by and large not very positive, because it's scary. Like, where is this going? So that's the reason why I think we really decided, hey, I think we need to do something, because it's a discussion topic. I mean, and we're not here to say, hey, you're right, he's wrong.
Yeah, it's good or bad, right?
This is the law, like we can only say, and we're going to get into it, it's our opinions, and ultimately we could, and this episode with completely different opinions or the same, it doesn't matter. I just want everybody to know that it's not there's no right or wrong. We're just really trying to figure out what this thing is, and hopefully give you enough information so that you can make your own decisions about whether you want to try it or how do you want to feel about it, things like that. But I mean, in terms of what it does, so I tried to do a lot of prompts with my name on it, just to see what it does, right? I mean, is it really pulling? Because I know my images, right?
Yeah.
Is it really pulling my images in and sourcing it? Is it actually using bits and pieces of my photo? And I don't know. It doesn't seem to be using it straight one for one. Like, I can't tell, right? I can only tell, like, it's funny because like, I guess, if you put, so there is a page on there that Carla shared that has a comparison with the same prompt but different artists.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that. Yeah,
and that's very interesting to look at. Actually, I think we should try to sort of link that somehow.
Yeah, definitely.
And the thing is, I put mine on, and it's like a lot of bright lights and glows, and I was like, oh damn, that's not good.
How did you feel?
The computer is saying that's all I'm good at.
Did you feel like it was? Whether you felt happy or sad about that, did you feel like this, like, oh yeah, okay, I can see why, like I can see that it would be mine.
I'm very, it's a good reminder because, I've been using a lot of, I get more gratuitous strong light sources. And it every time I use my prompt, it's like a bright light source always. And I was like, whoa, okay. That's telling me something. That's beside the point, but it's telling me something. So I was like, oh, that is interesting. But I didn't notice like it using any part of any image I made.
Okay.
So I put in a prompt of, like, say, Frazetta. And it really does start looking like Frazetta, and it feels like it's using something.
Well, it has to, right? I mean, at some point,
that's the thing.
Maybe it uses
how
so
does it
many.
know, right?
How does it? Maybe it uses so many images that it just happens, right? The median of 10,000 Frazetta images is going to look like a Frazetta image, right?
And it's not going to look like any one image. Like, you can't tell, like, oh my God, that's the ear of that character he painted. Like, it's not going to be like that because it's sampling basically everything he's got and then maybe randomizing it. And it's doing definitely something really intensive because it's taking that long to create an image off of GPU. It's a very intense process. I'm not sure exactly.
Unless we have the person on the line that made this, we were never gonna exactly. But I mean,
and I reached out.
Yeah,
to
me
the
too.
guy. So,
if it's fine, right?
If he replies, maybe we'll get him on the podcast, or maybe even just talk to him. But I can say that even all these different algorithms, like Midjourney, is one that you have to be invited to via Discord. Disco Diffusion is one that you could, it's readily available in terms of, like, you can sign up for Google Collab and you can do your thing there. And there's, like, Wombo Dreams, I think, is on
iPhone,
mobile.
Yeah, on iPhone.
So there's a bunch of them, but the funny thing is they all look different. It's funny because Midjourney seems to give the best results, like in terms of, like, the most blended and it looks kind of, almost like a finished kind of thing. And we'll talk about what that entails. But Disco Diffusion is somewhere in the middle. Wombo Dreams, I'm actually not too sure about. I think it's a little earlier algorithm, so
it's also not as powerful, I think. But there's a few really interesting use cases for that we can talk about later. There's a couple of different kind of things we want to talk about when it comes to what we've just mentioned. So there's a legal side, there's the ethical side. We're going to talk about a few different use cases, and we also want to drill down why a lot of artists maybe feel very threatened by this and why it's such a controversial topic. But before we get into any of that, I was actually just gonna very straightforward ask you, like, how did you feel like the first time you saw like the more advanced disco diffusion stuff? You shared a little bit before that you thought like, hey, we need to talk about this, but just like your first kind of like gut reaction, what was that? Like when you saw that, you're like, holy crap, I'm unemployed next year, or did you feel like it's a curiosity? Like what did you feel?
I think when I first saw it, I was like, "What is this? What like?" I was confused because I was like, you know, when your intro was like, people doing stuff they don't normally do. So I was like, "What is that person? Like what? Like, isn't he an environment? What is this character stuff?" And it, you know, it looks very. That one looked very Beksinski like, and I can get into that later. But I was like, "What is this thing?" And I looked at AI art. What is that? And it confused me. And then I was like, "Whoa, okay." Immediately I said, "Okay, this could be a problem." Like that's my, you know, you're asking my gut, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so
exactly.
I've had a long time to process, but my gut was like, "Whoa, like everybody's an artist now."
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, yeah.
I mean, what about you?
I mean, I think I was just scrolling through, and I mean, through my Facebook feed or whatever, and I mean, what I saw was, again, I just I saw an image popping up, and didn't really look at who posted it at first, and I was actually quite impressed by it. I didn't really. I read the description and who made it afterwards, right? So it was a bit confusing, but I think it was similarly like, what is this? Because it was strange, and I think that's the hallmark so far of a lot of these AI images that they're leaning into the abstract. They're very nightmarish. As a thumbnail, they often work really well. You kind of think you know what's going on there. Like maybe you can see like a group of people, or you think in terms of kind of the value distribution, the shapes. You think you're looking at a group of people in some kind of landscape, but then you click on it and you make it big, and then it becomes a bit weird because of course the AI doesn't know anatomy or whatever. Like suddenly everything becomes very distorted and looks like some kind of like weird nightmarish scenario where like again all the anatomy is like distorted and it feels very weird, and you kind of don't know what's going on anymore. You feel like you know what is supposed to be on there, but then you make it larger and it's like, oh my god, like what the hell is this? So I felt very uncomfortable, not because of like, oh, this is AI and I'm out of a job, but more like feeling like, are we looking into the brain of a machine, like what it would create, right? I was just maybe confused on a different level.
Well,
so
yeah, I mean, I get it, and I'll say the second feeling was because it was a big thing, like, you know, when I looked into it a little deeper, you know, one of the key words was Greg Rutulski.
Oh yeah,
the painter,
yeah.
Concept painter guy, and I was like, okay. Then I felt like, okay, that's immediately I felt like that's wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Like come on, like that can't be right. You know, you're blatantly saying, and then so that leads into a whole big sort of discussion on, you know, style, you know, on things like that. But the thing for me is, I think that I don't think these tools are going away. I think that you know what you're saying is interesting, that you are looking into, you know, what AI is, you know, what is it, what is an you know, machine seeing, you know, but it really is based off of what you type in there and what you want to get out of it. You will realize in the end, though, once you've seen enough of these images, they all actually start looking the same, and the content is not the same, but like I can spot one from a mile away now, Like
Right.
anytime I see it, I don't even need to see the hashtag. I know that's AI generated. You can tell. You know,
Right.
it's really easy to tell, and those people have painted on it, and you can still tell. You know, I'm just saying, it gets to a point where it's actually it's like its own thing now. Basically, everybody loves this. You know, like it's super textural and super high detail.
Right.
All of it, always.
And very
because the computer
painterly,
doesn't
right?
know. Yeah, you know, like atmospheric perspective or any of that. It doesn't understand that. It just knows. Well, I'm going to pull these images. It doesn't know it's looking at. Well, I guess it may know that, but
Right.
but either way, I think big reaction is that you're actually using somebody else's artwork, and we don't. Well, at least I don't know whether it's actually sampling from it, or if it's actually just I don't know what it's doing. So it's black magic to me a little bit. So it's kind of hard to condemn it before you know what it does, I guess.
Yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, I don't want to condemn it at all, because again, we don't maybe know about the initial intention of what the person wanted to do with it, right? But of course, that doesn't protect anyone from the way that people are going to use it going forward, right? And I mean, definitely where you said like you look at the artist who it's from, and then you see kind of the image that looks like a completely different artist, right? Whether that is just kind of like, hey, I just wanted to try it out. I just wanted to see what happens if you write like, I don't know, I want to see this by Sid Mead or by like, I don't know, whoever else, right? But yeah, are we opening a Pandora's box here to a certain degree where like, where is this going? Because to an untrained eye, like maybe like a real like concept painting from that particular artist and an AI generated one, maybe they don't look any different to them. Maybe the person would say like, oh yeah, this must be from the same artist, right? And on the other, I mean, who knows, right? And the other question is, does it matter to the person on the receiving, like the person on the other end, like I don't know, let's spin the scenario of a very evil boss, a very evil producer or art director. Like, as long as the image displays or communicates what the client or the boss is looking for, do they care whether a machine made this or a real artist made this? That's something very like, I don't, again, we're like, this is legal, ethical issue. Like, what does that mean? Like, there's another thing that kind of factors into that, which is that if we create an image for somebody else, right? They're usually, let's say you make an image for Disney. Usually the copyright then lies with Disney because you made this image for hire, right? So it's very explicitly stated in the contract. But then if this image on the one hand is sourced on thousands or millions of other images, like there's no like there's no guarantee that everything that the source material is basically like legally free to use. Most likely it's not. And on the other hand, like there has been now set a precedent that AI art can't be copyrighted in a court of law. Like you cannot, because like the article says that the for an image to be copyrighted, there needs to be an element of human authorship, right? But if that is like, I don't know, less than 1%, or if your only input is that you put in a prompt, then you like where are we on this, right? Is then Disney not able to claim a copyright on that particular image? That I don't know, like it's just I feel like
that's a pretty that's a pretty complex one, which
It is. I mean, I have no idea.
Who the hell? I mean, I have no clue. But I can tell you that one thing that I feel, you started off by saying, talking about some people that, like where can this be used? Some people who don't know better, or some people who think it's somebody else's concept art. But where I see that this could be a problem is that some production designers or art directors or directors might just be like, well, I'm going to take a couple lines from the script, I'm going to plug it in, and then I'm going to get a bunch of stuff, maybe something that I like. I mean, because you can be specific enough to go, oh yeah, I want it, like in sunset, and I want this and that. It's all based on your prompt.
Yeah.
And I want it to look like that guy's work. You can do that. And I think there's going to be a lot of people. I mean, I hear a lot of people going, well, I'm going to lose my job, and I also want to make sure that people feel a little bit not as scared, because there are ways to sort of make yourself more valuable. But I do see one side of it is where, well, the directors and PDs, a lot of the smaller shows, or just people who are just maybe more, they don't want to go through the trouble or speed, like they can do it, in 12 a.m. at night, just, type in a couple keywords, run it a couple times. Oh, I got something cool. And, you may negate, a person, an artist's job, but, that can happen. And I think ultimately, this is not going anywhere. It will happen. The tools are just going to get easier to use, right? I mean, you're going to be able to just install something. Photoshop, you can go to Neural Filters right now in the latest Photoshop, and under experimental, it's grayed out right now, but they have exactly that.
Or like a disco diffusion, like generating images.
Generate AI generator art. It's grayed out right now, but you can type in there and go, yeah, I'm interested, but it's not ready yet. But Photoshop ain't waiting. They know this is coming, and this is it's just like sky replacement. It's any of these things, upsampling. It's just taking it to the nth degree. The bigger problem right now is, how does it impact our industry, and what can you do to make yourself more valuable? What can you do? Because ultimately, at some point, I guarantee you, some PD is going to give me a bunch of images and say, hey, why don't you riff off of this? And it's going to be some AI created images. I mean, I'm sure of it. It's at some point it's going to happen, because some of these images are pretty, they're pretty polished. I mean, I showed you. I mean, it looks like, Jesus Christ, what? But where there's one area where it completely falls flat on its face, and that's design. Like, it does not know design. Like, I tried cars. It was like, it completely just kind of took a dump and it didn't know what to do. And I was like, wow, that's horrible. And there was no way. I mean, I literally ran through a whole bunch of prompts. I mean, your prompts were very designer oriented, and that's why you got crap back.
Yeah.
But if you said like a beautiful landscape with mountains, I mean, that's easy, right? The other thing is also like angle. You're always going to get roughly that kind of angles. You're not going to get like a vertigo. Well, I guess you can, but I mean, I haven't been able to get very drastically different angles.
Okay.
But I can say design problem. Like, it doesn't know how to solve a design because it doesn't know what it needs to solve.
Right.
It doesn't know. So all it knows is get images of tree and sunset, and then compare them, and then just kind of blend them.
I guess so, right? Yeah, it doesn't know design. It doesn't know a brief. It can't take feedback. It doesn't iterate on the design, right? That's where it kind of falls so far flat, right? It's not, again, like all powerful yet, right? Who knows where this is going to go, right? But
I mean, ultimately, it's AI generated imagery, not AI art, because in my opinion, humans create art because we have emotions and we think, we tell our stories, our past, our futures. We have opinions. We have all these things that make us, years, of who you are from young to old. And I truly don't think that the computer will ever have that. It can't. It's not born. It's not. It doesn't think the way I. It doesn't feel what I feel. It's not feeling pain like I. Like you can. We can go into a whole.
Yeah, that's true.
Sci-fi discussion on what computer how you can program it to feel, but ultimately it's not naturally. A human being that feels.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know, like, I just remembered that I was just reading an article, and the article was basically more or less concluding what you just said, about that. Yeah, the machine has no consciousness. It doesn't have what makes us human. The only thing it has is kind of like memories, right? Memory is somebody else's memories. And then they were comparing it to Blade Runner, right? Where, like, again, the androids are getting somebody else's memories to make them more human, right? And it's just an interesting parallel, I think, that they just mentioned that. Whether or not that really makes any sense, I found this analogy really interesting. But I'm wondering, do you not think that the machine, like the AI generated images, can, once they evolve a little bit more, like, and if they are based on the collective visual memory that humanity has captured, that it is able to create something that is almost indistinguishable from what humans can? I don't know.
I mean, if we're on the subject, I will just say that, in the future, if it gets that far in the future where you can where you can get enough memories to start really getting into that complex network of understanding, feelings and pain and all that kind of stuff, that will take many. I won't be alive for that. I don't think so. Hey, sure, I guess. I mean, it's not impossible if given enough time, I guess. But my thing right now is that it can't. At least at this point, or I think at least in the next 10 years, I don't think it can just solve problems, right? I can't say, okay, you know what? I need to design a new wheelchair. It's not going to know what I need. It's not going to have taste.
That's the thing. That's
taste, the thing. Denotes a decision of, comes from all your memories, come from all your skills and things you've learned and experiences. And then it says, hey, I like these things. Of course, you could. I guess you could program, a computer to like things like a certain person.
Yeah. I find that what you just mentioned, taste. I find that very interesting. That's also what I wrote down in the notes. Like, how would an AI know what the human mind finds pleasing? And I mean, on the one hand, I would say, how would it know what kind of, like, again, what the human mind naturally is drawn to, right? But then on the other hand, like, well, on the one hand, I would say no, like, how can it know? It's not human, right? But on the other hand, don't we have all these, like, quantifications of what is pleasing to the human mind? Don't we have that all quantified in, like, art classes and design classes, which ratios work? Why nature is like the perfect designer, because everything has a purpose, right? And everything. Wouldn't then an AI be able to also, if you feed that information to it, wouldn't you be able to, like, train an AI?
I think I don't know. Common denominator wise, yes. I mean, in an average, right? It'll know. But then you're negating the, or at least I think that, it's like saying, okay, we're never going to deal with tangents because tangents are bad. But then why does Degas make that good? How does he make that work? Because there are outliers who take all the rules and bend them. That's, to me, that's a true artist, is I'm going to express it in the way I want to. Yeah. I'm going to put an image where I think it works, and a computer is going to do the opposite because it's going to do the common average, right? Because it knows, okay, I'm going to base this off of this rule of thirds, Pythagorean grid,
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah,
this
yeah.
crap.
Yeah,
And
so
whereas some artist who's really strong says, hey, you know what, screw that. I'm about making you go where I want you to go. I'm going to give you some nightmares now because that's how I grew up. And that's what makes me special. But no computer is going to like do that. It's going to
right.
be like, I'm going to give you, like, if the world likes happy daisies, he's going to give you, the computer is going to give you more of that,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, indeed, right? So what I wrote down was like, if you look at, especially at that website, and we're going to put a link there where there's a comparison of the same scene done by different artists. I mean, what I thought initially was there like yeah, that's exactly the limitation of an AI. Like it can draw from what exists, right? It can get the input from somebody who already has a recognizable style and execute something in that style. But can it really create something of its own? Like, can it come up with a truly original, like, unique kind of way of expression, right?
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I actually think, honestly, I mean, this is my gut
Yeah, yeah,
telling me
yeah,
right now. If I think it's easier for it to come up with its own style
yeah.
than it is to copy your style, to be honest with you. Because right now, I know that doesn't sound like it makes sense, but like it can copy a style right now. It's not copying. It's all it is. It's merging certain images. It's sampling, and it's not actually making an active choice. Like, oh well, I want to do this or that. But I think if a computer at some point gets to a point where it's sentient and has own thoughts, it'll be original, because you're going to tell it to do original things. I mean, that's also part of what being sentient is to take your own path. I think right now what it's doing, it doesn't know why you did that stroke, or it doesn't know why you came out with, like, it doesn't know like why James Jean does what he does. It doesn't know that. It just knows, I'm going to compare 5 images and then I'm going to make this. That's all it knows. It doesn't know he did that because he went to school here and he went through this and he went through that, and that's how that image became that. He just knows, I'm going to take all the images. Like, what artist's style looks the same in 20 years? Like, he or she goes through many different styles. How does it know?
I mean, yeah, that of course makes sense, but I'm wondering, right, at the end of the day, let's take that example of why that artist made that stroke, right? Like maybe he, like, for whatever reason he made it, personal connection, blah blah blah, memories. I don't know where he went to school. Fine, and then the machine takes 20 images of his, and based on that data, the machine predicts that he would make a stroke like this. And in the end, those two strokes are almost identical. Does it matter in the end how the stroke was made?
Because
know.
that's the funny part, right? Because can you copyright style? No, style is style. How you make a stroke is how you make a stroke. A million people have done oil paintings. You look at the Renaissance. Michelangelo knows how to paint just as well as Leonardo, just as well as Raphael. They can all do the same things. It's nobody copyrights that, right? So if it looks like, let's say you put a prompt and it looks like James Jean, then it looks like James Jean. But at whatever period, but the content, there's no way it knows that, hey, I'm going to make this based on David and Goliath, and then I'm going to do this, I'm going to have a thing in his eye to do this, and it signifies that, and blah, blah, blah. It's not going to know that. It can't make a decision. So I guess it's my way of saying, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, well, what about jobs? Because people are, this is a very artistic sort of discussion, and I think every artist, can weigh in, and I would urge, really, I really want to know what people think about this and feel about this, and write in the comments, let us know, because I think that I really want this to be more of a dialogue too. I really am curious. about how people feel. But, artistic aside, people are wondering, and I see a lot of these sort of doom and gloom, like, oh my God, my job's done. My job's finished. Like, it can do a better job than I can, right? Because for what it does, it's pulling people's experience on how to do shapes and all that kind of stuff, and it's putting it together, and it's getting it right some of the time. Right, some of the time.
And will only increase in the future, right? It will get it right more often in the future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it may give you ideas too. It might be. Here's a good segue. It's like a lot of people say, well, I've talked to some people about this, and they go, well, it's just the same as kit bashing or photo bashing. It's the same. Back in photo bashing, when people were using it, they were they were called cheaters, and now everybody's using it, So, I guess the question is, do you see that? I mean, I have my own opinion, but I'll wait for you to.
If I feel threatened, or what my.
I mean, do you feel that it's the same as what photo bash used to be, or kit bashing used to be, and things like that?
I mean, I don't think it's the same because a human needs to make the decision on which images to take and how to blend them and what to see in them. I mean, for me, photo bashing is in photo bashing, like it's your ability to see happy accidents, to see shapes and then interpret them and change them. I mean, maybe then what I'm saying is that actually, if you take AI up to a certain degree, where it's still abstract and still weird, and then you change it and make it your own, then I guess it's not. It's different, right? Then it's the same. But if you take an image with artist prompts and like you're getting very close to somebody else's style, and then you just like fix the anatomy a little bit and add little bits and pieces, then I think it's not the same at all anymore. Then it's like, okay, then we're really like, you're just putting like your name under, like, so to speak, somebody else's artwork. That way I would draw the line, and that's what I would not do. But I don't know.
Here's a
am
question,
I too prude?
No. I mean, but here's the thing. You and I, we're photographers. When there was photo bashing, I know I have done it. Back in the day, where it was just like, okay, well, I'm going to use that photo, but we never asked for permission. So we actually, I mean, I won't add you into it. I'll just say I did it, because the thing is, I did, and I don't feel good about it, but I did do that, and I used it, and I used it without any consent.
And you got away with it.
I didn't.
Like we all.
I didn't use it one for one. I mean, I used it like, let's say I used a cloud from an image.
Yeah.
Or I made sure that I changed it enough, but still, versus now where everything is bought. Like I don't. I don't use anything I don't buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Or have licensing for. But back in the day, I mean, it's hard to get anything licensed. I won't even make an excuse for it, but whatever it is, I did do that. So that's where I see a big difference, is that like you can buy a kit now, like a 3D kit, and kit bash to your heart's content. Like whether it's good or not, it's beside the point, but at least doing it, I feel it ethical, because you're not just taking someone's work and saying it's mine. But there's a big precedence of, hey, if I paint on it and I change it enough, then it's okay. I mean, where is that line for you as an artist, I guess?
God, it's like that's the grayest line in all of concept art, isn't it? God.
Yeah, and
I mean, I moved away from photo bashing and all this stuff some time ago. I mean, I use it for like little accents and details and everything, but I mean, pretty much everything I do is 3D now. I don't photo bash anymore in that sense to generate ideas. So I don't really know anymore, honestly. I think I was in the same boat as you, that like we always try to like we bash stuff together and then hope nobody finds out, and then we kind of like push the limits of how much we take from that photo because we like it so much and whatever, right? But yeah, like I think nobody's really comfortable with that. Like we take it as a fact of the profession because we have to generate images so quickly that it's almost not possible any other way. But I don't know, like this, I don't know, man. That's really gray. That's a super gray area.
Yeah, no, I mean, and
here it's going to be even grayer, right?
That's why we're having this discussion. And for me, I'll tell you this experience, of what I went down the rabbit hole, and I basically, and I got a shout out to Andre Balmet because he really helped me get a lot of stuff up and running. And we had a lot of discussions about this whole topic, and I'll say that I really dove off the deep end. I did a lot of searching for images and trying different prompts, and then painting on the images a little bit. And now I'm painting, right? I'm doing my own personal work, but for me, I want to make my own decisions.
Yeah.
I want to paint that because I want to paint that. I don't want to paint that. I don't want a speedy way of, getting something that can fool somebody. Like if it can give, I don't want to paint on a computer or an AI generated, image, because I've drawn it. Why do I need to paint on that? I'm really conceiving it in the medium and the art form that I know. Now, if you need to do that and want to do that, and you have the skills to generate some artwork and paint over it and make complete sense out of it, I would say, awesome, go do it. I mean, knowing that if you put in a prompt that's anything but you're kind of, in a sense, in my opinion, taking benefit from somebody else's style and somebody else's hard work. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I would agree, but I mean, I'm just trying to think about the reality of kind of like the average like junior and mid-level artist out there right now in companies, right? And the kind of reality that we have faced and we are still facing with kind of the client jobs we have to take and everything, right? So, and I'm wondering like what these people think about it, or how they feel. They feel probably a lot more threatened by it. And I think
like a junior artist.
Yeah, like junior. I'm thinking, right, like, and how you mentioned, you wrote some stuff down about like there maybe for a lot of people there's an inherent kind of insecurity about their art, and I think artists are very prone to that kind of like whatever you kind of call it, imposter syndrome or whatever, right? They're always, no matter how good they are, deep down they're always kind of insecure and feel like they're not good enough and all this kind of stuff. And then suddenly here, like somebody else comes and just generates it and puts into question like all the years you put into it, and you feel like, I don't know, like the art that I produce is just not even close to as refined and imaginative, if you want to use that word with a machine, imagination, right? As what I come up with, right? Like, oh, my stuff is just completely like awful, generic, blah, 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 just because, I don't know, haven't had the experience yet, or not enough practice, blah, blah, whatever, right? But then, like, how would you feel about that if suddenly somebody else comes and does that in a matter of minutes? Like, oh, look what I did today in like 5 images every day. Like, that can outproduce everyone, right? No matter how good. And then you would feel very like I would ask myself, like, what the hell is the point even then? Like, why don't I use then the AI as well to generate something? Because in the end, like you wrote down, is your skill replaceable? And I'm like, are we really irreplaceable? Like, a lot of times what we kind of have to deal with clients is that that we are to a certain degree replaceable. Like, we're supposed to like create art that looks like other people because that's what's in the slide deck or whatever, in the in the mood boards, and like I think one of the most hollow kind of hooks like that which with which like the companies want to get you is the line, oh, we want your style, we want you. And I think that's just the most like overdone hollow kind of line that I've heard so many times, and that pretty much never came true. So that really I think makes a lot of people feel really replaceable, because like, oh, you paint that way, and then like, but it's not nothing special. I can get somebody else to do it like you, or I want you to paint like somebody else, or you need to fit into the like your style needs to fit the project needs, right? Or like you need to paint like the paintings need to fit into like a certain universe. They need to look like Star Wars. They need to look like Marvel, right? So in the end, honestly, I don't know anymore. I think it can throw up huge issues for a lot of people, and I don't know if it's. I don't know. I don't know if there's always insecurity behind it, or something else as well. I don't know, but I think this could be. I don't know.
Let me. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. Sorry, going on here.
I was like, first, I want to say, because we're talking about juniors, students, things like that we intimidated, right? I just, finished the senior show class at Art Center, and I'll tell you this, and my wife teaches. I hear about her students. If nothing, they are unique, and I feel like as long as they hold on to that, no computer can help you. No AI generated anything can do you like you can do you. So I don't. That's why I think that ultimately that's the leveling card. I mean, it's not even a style. It's not any of that. It's more how you think. It's how you solve a problem. But what is threatening is if you don't have the basic skills. Right? Some of let's say your fundamentals aren't strong enough. This can kind of take it over a little bit, because I can have an image that looks more polished, because it knows like, for some things, right? I mean, if you say, well, do a mountain, it can do a pretty good mountain in this style. It can do that, but a lot of things it can't do, right? So, and like you said, it will just get better, right? So it's going to do more. It's going to be able to do more. But I think that ultimately, if you concentrate on what you do or what you can do, which is just being who you are and expressing yourself, right? I mean, because how you design, Jan, is going to be totally different from how I design because of the experiences that we've had. But you do need a core set of skills that need to be super strong. And when you are that strong in your skill, your design skill, and your fundamentals, like none of the big, veterans are scared. And that's because they're very sure of themselves. And we're talking, well, what juniors are going to be a lot more scared, and I'm here to say that he won't take it over. I think he'll take over some jobs, which is like what we're talking about, like the production designer who's probably just want to plug in some stuff, or the director who can't draw, who just wants to plug in some words. That is going to happen. It's probably already happening. But he's probably going to go, well, that's kind of what I want. Why don't you take that and develop it further? And you can, take it any way you want. Are you replaceable? When it comes to the concept world, I think anybody's replaceable. I mean, I never thought I was irreplaceable. Like there's so many times when like I'm off the show and somebody else comes on or something, or I'm taking over for somebody and it's fine. Like it's you got to differentiate whether you're talking about your own art, in which case it's not replaceable because you're the only you in this world. But if you're talking about commercial art, then absolutely you're replaceable with or without AR, imagery. Like, I mean, if I was on a job and I, like doing environments and, for some reason I had to go do something else and you came in, it's not like, oh God, we're screwed. Our movie's done. We can't, Emmanuel left, shut down, no, they'd be like, okay, we'll get somebody else. You're totally replaceable when it comes to commercial art, because it is a very quantifiable thing. Now, if my predecessor was Craig Mullins, can I paint as good as him? Probably not. But can I paint good enough to get the job done? Probably. So that's kind of what it is, and you have to be okay with that, because this is commercial art. It's just how you make a living, But if you're talking about the crux of, the core of like art creation, I'm not concerned that an AI is going to do anything. I mean, the only thing I'm concerned is that you're using somebody else's artwork.
Right.
But it's getting so gray that they go, well, you can't tell which artwork, and it's true. So, but in the end, one of the favorite keywords is Beksinski, right? Because it's a very high detail, unique kind of, and everything looks like a Beksinski, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. But there's no feeling in it. It's got some weirdness, but there's no like, well, what are you trying to say? I mean, I won't name a name, but I'll say that there was a very popular artist that I actually really like, an illustrator. And I was like, wow, this, his work, I have his books, I love it, right? And then he tried this and painted over it. And I was like, immediately I saw it as AI imagery. And immediately I was like, why? I like your old images so much better. That's just me. I mean, but he totally painted on it. Like, it wasn't like he really took time to paint his content in it. But I was like, I can still tell immediately. And I look, sure enough, you look at the hashtag, it's like, oh, it's AI. Collaboration. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I like the stuff that came out of you better, because you made decision on everything. Right? You didn't let the computer go, oh, well, here, there's some fine detail there. I'll just, try that out for a little bit. I like it when people just kind of make their own decisions and go with it. So, I mean, I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, are we being too old school? Is the new era?
Maybe.
I don't know. But I think that was always the case. I think, again, like you said, when photo bashing came, people complained. When kit bashing came, people complained. Probably when the computer came, people complained that real art is only done on pen and paper, right?
No. So I'm not saying that. Actually, I'll tell you this. I'm actually still saying that I'm not a big fan of photo bashing or kit bashing, because I feel like you really need to know what you're doing to make that work.
Oh yeah.
Like, photo bashing is not design. That's photo bashing. It's just saying, hey, I'm gonna bash some stuff together and hopefully I get something good out of it. Maybe it'll help you texturally to get some stuff quickly or put some skies in there. But ultimately, if you're doing anything like composition design, photo bashing ain't gonna do you any good.
Yep.
But unless you're using somebody else's composition, which is kind of then the AI problem, right? So I'm not a proponent of any of that. Yeah, and maybe I am a old fart, and but that's my opinion, because I feel like if you make that decision on what you do, it is you completely. There's no falsities, but now in this day and age of needing likes and popularity and all that kind of stuff, you want to already get past the sort of, like, oh, I don't want, so a lot of people don't want to get good. They can't wait to
be good,
sort of get to the point where I can just, that's my image, and a lot of those people, maybe they're not painters, or they're not image, or they're not really artists in that sense. Maybe they're more art directors, maybe they're better at that. I don't know. All I can say is, maybe I am old school, but I'm about expressing yourself, and no computer can do that for you. It doesn't know what you're feeling right now. It doesn't know that. Exactly. You probably don't even know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
How
probably.
can it know?
I mean.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, and in the end, I think it's kind of like, I mean, and if you're using this kind of stuff to kind of I don't know, almost you're misleading the audience, the clients, and in the end you're misleading yourself, that if you believe that using an AI machine to generate an image is a skill, then yeah, that's not going to get you really anywhere. But I mean,
your job is replaceable, right? If all you're doing is putting in words,
if you're feeding the machine, yeah,
then it's really replaceable, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people will find ways to make a lot of money with it. I mean, I'm still waiting, or maybe it's already there, like the first NFT collection.
Oh no, it's
already there. Okay, yeah, probably. I'm too slow for that. I'm too old.
And honestly, I'll be completely honest here, and I don't mean to, to belittle anybody, but I mean, there are not many collectors who can tell the difference.
Yeah, that's what I said before, right? Like in the end, like to somebody outside the industry, does it matter? Like, if the end result is so similar, right? I'm not saying right now that the AI can match somebody's like hand painted like image, right, in its full glory, but I mean, eventually we're gonna get there, right? And at some point the AI will know how to put a body together, right, and not make it look like some kind of monster like it is looking right now. At some point it will know, right? But
I mean, it's a simple fact is like, let's say I paint an oil painting of the Mona Lisa, right, and then there's Leonardo's Mona Lisa, and mine's obviously not going to be very good because I'm not as good as Leonardo da Vinci. But to the general public, they may not even know the difference. They might even pick mine.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It depends. But I'll know.
That's the thing, right? That's the crux of it all.
Yeah, who are you as a person, and what does it mean to you? And there's no right or wrong. I mean,
who are you making the art for, right? So that's the other question. Who are you making the art for? Are you making it for yourself, question. Or are you? I mean, in the end, I mean, but we have to realize though that I mean, that in the end, we have to make a living, right? I mean, I guess then I don't.
So are you actually making art or commercial art?
That's the thing, right? That's the thing, and I think there will be a place for this AI stuff to help you in your commercial art endeavors, right? But I guess what we're saying in the end, or at least our opinion, is that if you try to use AI as for your personal art, that should be strictly only for yourself. I think you're doing yourself a disservice. In the end, I think that's kind of what we're saying. The only the last thing that from my side, the last thing I was wondering is that, and I guess nobody really can answer that except for the people who program these algorithms, is that I'm wondering, do we actually train the AI to be better by feeding them more prompts? I don't know. Are we bringing about the AI apocalypse? I don't know, by ourselves.
I mean, to me, the AI is pretty dumb because all it knows is what you're putting in, and it's going mountain. Let me do search words and images with mountain, and then that's how I'm going to put in that, and I think it's doing a lot of Googling, basically, and blending, right? I mean, I'm interested to know what's behind the scenes, obviously, like how it's blending, because some of this is like really well blended.
Yeah. I mean, it puts together the styles and everything, right, and then creates a mostly like a landscape out of it that is readable by the human eye, right? So
yeah, I mean, if you put in Mobius, it actually kind of looked like Mobius.
Yeah, exactly.
But ultimately, you have, I mean, in commercial art, I'd be curious to see, besides the things that we talked about, how it will rear its head. But I think, even if you're a student or a junior, have faith in yourself.
That's true.
Honestly, your skills will translate. And I think that, the AI thing is, I had a student who actually tried the AI thing, and when we were talking, and he's like, yeah, I tried this. And, I'm not against it, but I told him, I said, for students, I think lay off the AI because you want to learn the basic skills of image creation, and you're using it to kind of take you past the first 5 steps, and at some point you're going to need to know those 5 steps, and now you're just doing yourself a disservice, like you're saying, for personal art for sure, but even commercial art, unless you're that good, right? If Craig Mullen said, I'm going to try some AI imagery and then I'm going to paint on top of it, well, do whatever you want. You can paint anything. So it's just your exploration, whatever, I guess, and legal issues, which we don't have any clue what that's going to be. Personally, I would just say, right now the AI imagery is only good for certain genres anyways.
Yep, that's true. So we tried to break it and we broke it.
You broke it because
very easily,
and it's interesting how you broke it.
Yeah, anything I think like design, photography related, anything that with very clean lines, right? Very deliberate kind of architectural spaces or anything is just not gonna work, right? Anything like fantasy, like organic, painterly, moody, I think it does very, very well, right?
Monstery, because it's supposed to be abstract, and you know what, like. Going from Disco Diffusion, I'll tell you this: the Disco Diffusion had a real problem with your prompts, like being like very more architectural stuff or using photography. But Midjourney was pretty good. Yeah. Was better. I showed you the stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And it looked like, okay.
You can do something with it, right? Usable. It's not like you can hand this into a client, but it can evoke, I think, new ideas, right? You have to still filter it through heavily. Your own kind of artistic sensibilities, but it's not too far off, I think, from being actually usable at some point in that process, right? And that could be cool. I
mean, I guess the question is, does it give you enough? Let's say those images I gave you. I mean, you could have just done your own drawing and designing yourself.
That's the other
come
question.
Up with better.
Yeah, probably. At this point, right? But never say never, right? God knows, in a couple of months even or years, maybe the game is completely different, right? But we'll do another episode then, right? Okay.
Well, I hope this no conclusion episode was good for you guys.
Yeah. Like it's again, we want to continue the conversation in the comments or send us messages, because again, we probably didn't think about all the different issues and all the different things of how people perceive this very interesting development, I think. But again, let us know in the comments. We're always happy to have a conversation about this. So thanks again for tuning in. Sorry that it took a while again to get the next episode out. We'll try our best to maybe have the gaps between the next episode and this one to be a little bit shorter. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.